So as I was getting this message ready, Allie looked at me. She was like, "So how long do you think your sermon's going to be?" And I was like, "Well, I'll probably get up there. I'll get nervous, read through my notes in about 2 minutes, but I might can stretch it to 5." So, no. As I was reading this message, God was really showing me so much, and as I was preparing for this, I was just examining myself. As I was studying this sermon, this message, I was looking at myself in the same way. And there's a lot of fixing I need myself, and there's things I struggle with in this. And I battled so hard on it because I was like, I don't want to preach or teach anything that I'm battling with myself. And it discouraged me for so long. But God has been working really strongly with me on this in so many ways. But as the body of Christ, we all have one thing in common, and it's faith. Faith sets the foundation of who we are. And like Josh has been talking about a lot, and the American church, the way it is today, faith is so undervalued. Faith holds so much value, and faith does so much. It does so much in our lives, but our faith also impacts so many people around us. And we just don't often understand that. And it's like we have faith, right? We believe in Jesus. We are saved. We're saved from sin. We are born again, living for Christ. And that's the foundation of our faith, is we believe. And that is great. But God wants to take it to another level. He wants to take our faith deeper. He wants to take us farther than just believing. And there's been times in life I've caught myself like that. And it's we get satisfied with where we're at. And we don't necessarily want to, we don't have that drive to go farther and to do more. And so we really need to understand how powerful faith is. And it's like we put our faith in a box and kind of tuck it to the side. And we're like, all right, I'm happy with what I got, don't touch it no more. Jesus, don't mess with it no more. And the thing is, I was telling the kids and youth, he's like a gentleman. Jesus don't bash into your life and start changing things. He knocks. And I looked at Grace and I was like, Grace, how would you feel if I just kicked through the door one evening, went to the fridge, got me something to drink, kicked on the couch and turned on a ball game? And he was like, I wouldn't care. That's not how Jesus works. Jesus is respectful. It's up to our choice on how far we want to go with him. It ain't like he puts a leash on us and drags you're coming with me. No, it's not like that. It's our choice. If we want to go farther, he'll take us as far as we want to go. And that's the thing is we often don't want to go farther. We're happy where we're at. We're comfortable. And it's like Abraham. Abraham, he told Abraham, he's like, you and your wife and Lot, if you come with me, he's like, I'll bless you and I'll take you far. And he did. Abraham did the thing, and he went and he inherited Canaan, and he had all this livestock. That's just a small portion of it. There's so much more to it. And so I couldn't necessarily pick out a story for this section, because if you read all through the Bible, there's so many times where God calls people, like the disciples and so many more people. He calls them out of the stage that they're in and takes them so far. Now, is the road easy? No. But when they get there, it's so rewarding. And he just wants to do so much with us if we let him. But the thing that gets in our way is we often get so distracted so easily. And whenever I said I was examining myself, this was the part that got me. Because I have the attention span of, it's like a dog and a squirrel. I cannot stay focused for no time. And I got 2 teachers that used to teach me in school. One of them is Amber Stewart. Everybody give a wave. But when I was in second grade, she was my second grade teacher. And when I first started visiting here, I seen her and I was like, I told everybody you was the best second grade teacher I ever had. And she was like, I hope so. I was your only one. But she, as her as my witness, in school, you could not keep my attention. If you sat me at a table, my friends, you was not getting nothing out of me. And so, it's beginning of school, you buddy up your friends, you sit where you want, and it would last a week, and I'm talking, I'm not paying attention, and then I would get moved. And I would get so upset. I was like, why? That's the whole point of school, is coming and having fun and talking with your friends. That's what school's about. And I would get so upset when I'd get moved. And then as I look back, like the whole reason they moved me is because she was getting me away from what was distracting me and what she was trying to show me. Because a teacher, the whole point of a teacher is they're trying to show you stuff and teach you stuff that you are going to need to know. Because when I'm lollygagging and not paying attention and test day comes around, I'm not prepared. And that's her job, and any teacher's job, is to keep the students' attention and teach them, because what they're trying to show you is important. It's the same way with Jesus. Jesus is trying to show us so much. He's trying to teach us so much. But if he cannot get our attention, like, we ain't gonna hear any of it. And so we have to eliminate those distractions in our life to hear what he's trying to show us. And the one thing I thought about is, about us like keeping our eyes on him, was I thought of the story of Peter. And you read in Matthew 14, starting in verse 25. One second, I get pulled up here. But Jesus, they're in the storm, and they see Jesus like, oh my gosh, it's a ghost. And I thought that was really funny. But and so he's like, if this is you, then call me out to walk on the water. And we often get put into situations where we ask Jesus, give me opportunities to grow. Let me do something for you. And then the opportunity comes up and we get scared and we back out. And so it says, and starting in verse 25, and in the fourth watch of the night, he came them walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, it's a ghost. And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, take heart, it is I, do not be afraid. And Peter said to him, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. And he said, come. So Peter got out in the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, and he cried out, Lord, save me. The wind, Peter got so distracted by fear that he took his eyes off Jesus. And often our biggest distractions, and somebody thinking, oh, he's sitting here preaching, put the phone down, pick the Bible up. No, man, that's not where I'm getting at. Is sometimes our biggest distractions is our emotions. Yep. And as for me, if I get tore up about something, if I get upset, aggravated, sad, whatever it may be, I can't focus. I don't want to do nothing. Yeah. And if the enemy knows he can get me in that position, then he can pull me away from the word. He can pull away my prayer time. And then that's how he gets to your faith. Because the enemy wants one thing from us, and that's our faith. That's the one thing he wants to shut down. I heard a preacher say not too long ago, when the enemy attacks a marriage, he don't want the marriage. He wants the faith that marriage is built on. When the enemy attacks your health, he don't care about your health. But if he knows that attacking your health will hinder your faith with God, then he's going to attack it with everything he's got. And that really hit me hard, because that's all he wants. He don't want your marriage, your friends. He don't want none of that. He wants what's in the center of it all is the faith. And if he can get to your faith by distracting you, then he will. And that's one thing that, like I said, I battled with for so long. And it's still a struggle, getting distracted so easy, because it's like we live in a time to where that's all it is. That's all the news is trying to do. That's politics, it's everything. They're just trying to grab your attention and get your attention and distract you. And it's so easily to be done. But if we want to take our faith to a higher level and seek God farther and seek God deeper, we got to push these distractions to the side. We have to realize what's more important. And it's so easy to blame distractions on the devil. One thing is man, I can't help the devil makes my TikTok feed so good at midnight, I can't, that's what's making me doom scroll. No, we got to take some responsibility and realize that it's us. We got to make adjustments in our life. We got to put the foot down and cut things off. And it's different for everybody. Some people, it may be you have to cut the phone off at 9 o'clock. It may be turning the TV off at a certain time. But whatever it takes to get your eyes set on Jesus and stay in there, then that's what you got to do. And that's what it takes to take your faith to that next level. Because he wants to. Jesus wants to take us so far. And he has so many plans for us. But if we're caught up in so many other things and our eyes are not fixed on him, then he can't do that. We have to be 100% ready to go. But we're going to keep on reading. And it says, but when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink and cry out, Lord, save me. Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took a hold of him, saying, saying to him, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshiped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." And yeah, he's going to save us. You know, we catch ourselves in these messes all the time. But sorry, my app's trying to get me to rate it. But something else that really caught me, that really hit me hard was just because it ain't a sin, it doesn't mean it ain't a distraction. Right. Like that hit me hard. And for one distraction that I've really had to cut off in my life was there's this game me and my friends play. It's an innocent game. I'm not running around shooting and running over people. Like it's nothing bad. It's like a soccer game. And in my head, I was like, there ain't nothing wrong with this. It's something I do in my spare time, just it's for fun. But then I got to thinking, I was like, yeah, this may not be sin, but man, it's a distraction. I could be doing so much more right now. It's not healthy for me. And so it's things like that in your life that you got to cut off. And another thing is distraction plants the seed to sin. And you may not be battling with sin right now. There may not be a particular thing you're battling with in your life. But the enemy knows if he cannot get you to sin, then he will distract you and everything falls in behind that. Yep. Once he gets your attention off God, sin will creep in, distance will creep in, and then slowly that relationship with Jesus just gets farther and farther and farther, and next thing you know, he's got what he wants. He's pulled your faith, he's hurt your faith, and it's so easy to do, but Jesus wants to take you so far. He's got plans for everybody. He's got this big path laid out with blessings on it. And the enemy knows that. That's exactly why he attacks us. And one of my kids in youth asked the other day, is like, why is it that people, like the millionaires, the famous people, it seems like they got it made, like they don't have a struggle in the world. And I was like, it's because he's already got them trapped. Because he knows if they got the material items that they want, then they have no desire to seek after Jesus. Our hearts are where they need to be. And the enemy, that's who he is after. He sees the faith, and he knows that the stronger our faith gets, the more of a threat we are to him. And Jesus wants to do so much in Neon. He wants to do so much in Letcher County. He wants to do so much in this world. And it's going to take people that are hungry to go deeper in their faith to do that. And he wants that. And it's happening. It's happening in the church. God has done so much in Refuge. And it's growing. And there's just so many. We got new ministries going on. And there's a lot of people in here that's just hungry. And that's what it takes. But there's a lot of people out there that is not. And it's going to take our faith. Our faith needs to be contagious. Yes. It needs to spread like wildfire. Our faith, it needs to shine. We need to stick out. That's how strong our faith needs to be. But we have to be hungry for it. We have to want to go deeper in our faith. We have to want more. And what's stopping you? That's what you got to ask yourself. And if Mikey wants to get a prayer pad going, and as we get ready to call in the altar, I just want you to think to yourself, where is my faith at? Where am I at? Am I comfortable right now? Or do you want to go farther? And if that's the case, what's stopping you? What is it in your life that is stopping you from going that extra step? What is it in your life that is stopping you from spending that extra time in your word or spending that extra time in prayer? What is it that your mind is focused on that's not Jesus? So if everybody else will stand up and bow their heads. Josh does this really well, so I'm going to try. But maybe you're here today and you're new to faith. Maybe you've not yet given your life to Christ. And you're wondering what I'm talking about. And Jesus, he's looking at you right now and he's like, I want to take you far. He wants to take you far. He's got plans beyond your imagination. He wants to use you. He wants you to grow. He wants to do so much in your life and the people's lives around you. And he can do that through you. And if that's you, raise your hand. I ain't going to embarrass you, call you out. I just want the way I can pray for you. All right, maybe you're saved, you're born again, and you come to church every Sunday, and it seems like you're doing all the right things, but you're at like a standstill right now. But God is calling you farther. But maybe there's some things in your life that's just keeping you from taking that extra step. That's kind of pulling your attention away from Him. If that's you, raise your hand. God wants to do a lot. He wants to do so much. And He'll take you as far as you want to go. He wants to take your faith to a whole new level. Something that you never even imagined. He wants to do so much with your faith. But you got to let Him. You've got to put things to the side, and you got to realize what's more important.